Hey, kia ora. Helen Brown's here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Well, where am I? Welcome to the Before the Dirt Nap podcast, number 1480. Serenity Sunday? Well, it was because I didn't work. This is the first time today I've been on the computer. So I turned it on like 10 minutes ago. I did very well as staying off today. I had a very interesting day. It was Sunday, so Sunday we usually start a little slow. I might lay in bed and read for a little bit before I get up and do my morning routines and stuff. Even though I wake up at the same time every morning, I decided to stay in bed. And then like just after 6, and I wake up like around 5. So just after 6 o'clock, I'm laying there reading and I hear this noise and I'm like, what is that? And I know we just had the solar panels put in. And I was like, what the heck is that noise? And I went, oh, it's rain. Yes. And I laid there and yes, definitely rain. So I go to throw back the covers and the noise stops. And I go and I look outside. It was not raining anymore. It was all of 30-second quick shower. That was it. Done. I'm like, bang. I thought, well, I'm out of bed now. Might as well get up. So we did. Had breakfast. Then we went for our walk and it was a little breezy. Although I have to say, last night it was awesome. You know it's getting hot when you're used to going for walks in triple digits in the evening. Even if the sun has gone down, it's, the coolest walk we have had up until last night, the coolest walk we had since I'd moved into this house was 102 degrees. And that was at 8 o'clock at night. We usually go for a walk sometime between 7 and 8. Although now we're getting it a little earlier because it's getting darker earlier. Last night I went out and I went, oh, this is really nice. And there was this breeze blowing and it was beautiful. And Zeffy's like, oh, I'm enjoying this walk. And I get home, it was 89 degrees outside. I'm like, what? I'm the girl that likes the high 60s, low to mid 70s. And I'm like out there in 89-degree weather going, this is awesome. So when we got up this morning, we went for a walk this morning. It was 80 degrees this morning when we went for a walk. And I'm like, when was the last time we had 80 degrees? Because since we moved into the house, it's been anywhere from high 80s, like around 87, 88, 89, into the low 90s. And yes, even some mornings it was triple digits. And I'm just like, oh, the cooler weather's on the way. Yippee-yi-yay. So I was stoked about that. And so I thought, well, I wonder what the temperature's supposed to be today. And for the first time, and I don't remember when, our high today was 96. I was like, this is awesome. No triple digits today. But as soon as we got back from the walk, it was grab a few bits and pieces. And then we hopped in the car and we drove over to Sparkles. And it was actually like 10:15 by the time we got over there. I mean, that's how long we dragged out the thing. I got over to Sparkles and all of that. And went inside and I did some cleaning because the place just smelled like it had been closed up. And I'm like, okay, we've got to get some cleaning because the place was dusty because it's been sitting for so long. And it's been a while since it's been a few weeks since we've been there. So got cleaning, got sorting, ran 4 bags of trash over to the trash bin. Got a whole bunch of stuff packed up. I can now say in my bedroom that all my drawers are now empty. Currently what I'm doing is I'm going through and putting into the car anything that cannot be accessed if the slides are in, and anything that is laying out that can't be put away. So that when we go to move it, even if I move it from the campsite to storage, I'm not going to have stuff that go flying around and all that sort of stuff. So that's basically what I'm working with. Those were my parameters for today. So, but then the neighbor from across the road came over and we had a catch-up chat with her. And then she went and called the neighbor next door. He had actually sent me a text message, but he'd sent it to the wrong number. It was so cute. But him and his wife came over and they've offered me their pickup truck, which has a canopy over the back. And he says, look, instead of doing all these little trips, he says, just put everything into the back of the truck. Take it over there. He says, we'll just swap vehicles for the day. And I was like thinking, that's not such a stupid idea. And so now we've come up with a plan that on Thursday, when Zeffy's at the vet getting her little mass removed, is I'm going to go back to the RV and do a lot of packing up and all of that. I'm going to see if I can get the engine going. because if you're watching yesterday, we're talking about how the RV has its own jumper installation where you can actually jump start the engine from the house batteries, because I know that the engine battery is dead. So we're going to see if we can jump start it that way. If not, Mike's going to try hooking up his pickup truck and see if we can do it that way. If not, then we need to get a new battery, and we're going to get it put in by Saturday so we can and the idea on Saturday is either to finish taking everything out and either bring Sparkles here to the house so I can finish unpacking it. And I'm like thinking, yeah, the homeowners association is going to love that one. But then I thought, there's been a lot of homes around this area. Every time we go for a walk, there's tow trailers and fifth wheels sitting in front of houses, but they're only there for like a couple of days. So I'm like thinking, okay, so I've got 2 days basically to clear it out and then get it out of here and get it to storage. I can't go park it in somebody else's in front of somebody else's house, so I'm going to have to like get it in storage. And I made sure today when I came home, there's no fire hydrants in front of me. There's no like places that you can't park because of emergency vehicles, that sort of stuff. So we're going to see how that works. But I'd rather take it from the campground straight to storage. And I've got a couple of places in mind I'm going to give a call to tomorrow morning to see if they've got the space for Sparkles, and if it's a place where I can come in, park my car there, do what I need to do inside, and got access to the vehicle. And so my goal right now is to make sure that anything that is laying out gets packed and brought over to the house, and anything that will be blocked off or locked off because of the slides being in, like my dresser drawers, they are all now completely empty because the bed bumps up to those when the slide's in. And the closet, I can get access to the closet, but I'm sort of like, I really don't feel like standing on the bed and opening up and doing all that stuff. So Thursday I'll empty out the closet, and then I'm going to start on all the stuff that's in the living area, with the driver's seat being the first one because it's got all her stuff on there. We didn't have space today to bring all that stuff, but I came back with a carload of stuff. And by the time we got back, it was 94 when we left there. And I wanted to get out of there at 2:00 because they had wind advisories starting at 2 p.m. And the whole time we were there, we had the awning out. So it got dried out they did have some rain yesterday because I saw the evidence on the roads, but she was dry. Sparkles was dry, so that was good. There was no leaks, depending on which way the wind's coming. So we're going to see if we can get it put into storage starting next weekend, we hope. And if we can't get the engine running on Thursday, then we've either got to get... I just thought, I have travel assist. Or if I can't get it, it's like AAA, but it's for RVers. And they could come out and replace my battery. Yay. So I've got that. I've now just got that up my sleeve. Just suddenly realized, it's like, hang on, I have travel assist through Good Sam. And one of the things that they do is they're like I said, like AAA for RVers, but it actually covers all vehicles. So my RV and my car. So I can tell them that I can't get my RV started, and they'll come out and assist and replace the battery for me. I don't need to go get a battery and replace it. I can get them to come out and do that. That'll work so much better. Yes. All right. That's the plan. So on Thursday, if I can't get the thing started, I'm going to give them a call. And but the idea is to get them out as early as possible, because I do have to be back here by 11:30 to get ready for work at 12. So that's the plan now for Thursday. Let's see if that happens. So it was a busy day. And we got back, and on the way back, we did stop at Culver's and get their mushroom Swiss burger, which is so good. And over the intercom, I have to tell you this one. So over the intercom, there's this guy that works there. He's cute. But I'll tell you about him in a minute. His name's Ben. He's awesome. Gives great customer service. And I'm giving my order, and he turns around and says, he said, it's great to hear your voice again. He said, we haven't heard from you. We haven't heard from you for a while. And I'm like, I go, is this Ben? And he goes, yeah. And I says, okay, I'll see you in a sec. Drove around, and there was no cars in front of the drive-through window. Went up to the drive-through window, and there he is. The reason I have this friendship with Ben is because he looks exactly like my younger stepson. He's like a spitting image of my younger stepson. And I mentioned it to him one time I was there. I said, I'm sorry for staring at you. And he goes, oh. And I said, but you look exactly like my younger son. And he turns around and goes, really? I says, yeah. And even when he smiled, it was the same smile. I was like sitting there going, oh my gosh. But he looks like Josh did a few years ago. And I was like, wow. And so so now I know his voice. He knows my voice when he hears it over the intercom if he's on the window and stuff. And but he's such a friendly young man. And it just astounds me every time when I go there. And the few times I do, I haven't been there in like, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks. When I went there, and he would still recognize the accent gives it away. But the fact that every time I get there, he's got the smile on, it's just like Josh is standing there in the window at Culver's serving me, but got a name tag called Ben on it. So yeah, that was really interesting today. In fact, I still got to tell Josh that one. So yeah. So that kind of throws at me. So we got our burger and fries and came home and had that, and it was nice. And Zeffie, of course, I thought, I'm not going to sit at the table. I'm going to go sit on the couch and we'll watch something. And so we started watching a movie. What was the movie called? Heart of Stone. And we got like about halfway through it, and I was like, I am falling asleep. We need a nap. So we went and had a nap and woke up about 40 minutes ago. So yeah. I've been avoiding the computer all day, trying to stay off social media today. It didn't quite. There was a couple of posts I responded to, but that was about it. So it's been a good day. And yes, it is a Serenity Sunday because I wasn't doing anything that I normally do on a weekday. And that's the whole idea when you have this Serenity Sunday, is to do something completely different that you don't normally do, which is what we did. But I was hot and sweaty by the time we got home, so a shower was in order. Yes. My clothes were just clinging to me. They were so wet from the sweat because it was so humid over at Sparkles. We've had the wind has definitely picked up. It started picking up as we left and we were driving home. You could see the wind was starting to pick up. And I said, well, they did say at 2 o'clock there's a wind advisory out for between 2 and I think it's 7 p.m. And I think we're supposed to get rain at some point in that time too, but I haven't seen any signs of it. I haven't heard it. So who knows? We may get rain, but I missed out on dancing in the rain because it only lasted 30 seconds this morning. I was not happy, but we had rain for 30 seconds and it was a good it was a quick downpour. It was interesting. A 30-second downpour. It was, yeah. And it's like, it stopped and I looked out we've got that little half circle window up the top there that we don't have a blind on. But I've actually found the really cool part about that. Because I like my dark rooms, and I've got the window blocked off in the bathroom, so that helps a lot. But I've just got this half window that's above the main windows in the bedroom. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should cover that. But I have found a really good use for that. Is I can lay in bed at night and I can look out and see the stars. I'm like, we're not covering that window up. And then I can lay there in the morning and I can watch the sun come up. And I'm like, yeah, we're not covering that up. And lately I've been watching the clouds go by. It's like, yeah, we're not covering that window up. Sometimes it's the little simple things that give you the biggest joys in life. And yesterday we were talking about, the simple things? The small things. One day this week we were talking about didn't we speak about small things recently? Yeah, on Friday we talked about sometimes the small things make the day. And I was laying there this morning as I was watching, and of course I hear the rain coming. And I'm like, yes, I got to get out of bed, and it stops. And I look out, and and I was watching these rain clouds disappear, and then there were gray clouds coming in behind that were not rain clouds. It's like, oh, that makes sense. But yeah, so sometimes it's the little things, and I love to sit and watch the clouds go by. As a kid, used to love laying on the grass and watching the clouds in the sky, or being out at night and watching and go stargazing. And I always remember when I was a teenager, there was a group of us, and we would sneak over into the cemetery, which was literally over our back fence. You walked down our backyard, up the hill that belonged to the council, which they gave us use of because they couldn't use it for the cemetery, through the broken barbed wire fence that was at the top. The top 2 pieces of barbed wire were broken off and being peeled back eons ago. And then the hedge came this way and the hedge came this way, and there was a little gap that you could walk through, and you'd stand on Mr. and Mrs. Elliott's graves, and I'd apologize to them every time I stood on their grave to get in or out of the cemetery, and you were in the cemetery. And there was this place that was over near where all the toddlers and infants were buried. They had a children's section. And there was a place over there where there was this slight hill, and the place had a lot of trees in the older area, but there was this one spot where there was a clearing in the trees kind of thing, and it just had this slight hill, but that hill was perfect for laying on your back on the grass and just star watching. So there was a group of us teenagers that would go and do that every now and again. We'd just go hang out in the cemetery, and that's all we would do. We'd just be laying there on the grass, watching stars, having conversations, just laying there, not even talking. It was that's one of my highlights as a teenager when we were living there, and was just to lay on that slight slant that was there and just stargaze. And it didn't matter if we said anything or not. We solved a lot of world problems while we were laying there on the grass. But it was nice. It was just a group of friends, and that's what we would do on a Friday night or a Saturday night. We'd just go up there into the cemetery and find the spot and lay there and look up at the stars. It was awesome. And it was just there as friends. And I have to say that was one of my highlighted memories of my teenage years, was doing that with friends on a Friday or a Saturday night. That's where we would go hang out. And we never got up to anything, and it wasn't loud talking. We weren't disturbing any of the neighbors. They were all dead. It didn't matter. Okay, that was really bad. But it was just so calm and peaceful, and it was just a great place to go and hang. And we didn't make a lot of noise. And we just laid there and watched the stars. And we're, oh, look, that looks like us, we'll make shapes out of the stars. We'll sit there, solve the world, as teenagers do, sit there and discuss the world problems and solve them. And why don't they just do this? It just seems so simple to us as teenagers. And, but yeah, that's a great memory from my teenage years, was just laying there on Friday or Saturday night, just watching the stars. And I have never, ever been afraid of walking in cemeteries. I find them the most serene and peaceful places to walk, and to just walk. And I will just go and walk rows. If I'm not there doing genealogy research, it's just a cemetery that I know that none of my relative ancestors are in, or a client's ancestors are in. It's just to go and wander up and down the rows and just read the different tombstones and things, because people put interesting things on tombstones, and some of them are interesting to read. And there's now a tombstone that's next to Brad's. That's why I didn't find, when I last went and visited Brad, I had trouble finding his I panicked because I had lost his gravesite. I was panicking. I knew I had come down the right aisle for it. I had parked exactly where I always parked, and I'd come down the aisle for it, and I couldn't find it because there was now there's somebody being buried next to him, and they have this piece of granite that goes the entire size of the gravesite. It takes up the entire gravesite. And I had completely missed it. And I'm sort of like walking down and going, and I get down to this tree, and I know if I hit that tree, I've walked way too far. And I'm like, where did he go? And so I'm like, the last time I was just walking up and down trying to find him. So eventually I was sort of like, oh, maybe he's got somebody buried next to him. That thought finally hit me on my fourth up and down. And so I moved over and started walking up, and that's how I found him. And I was like, oh, because there was also another grave that was like one up from his and a cross that had this young woman's face on it and had her story on there. And it wasn't as big as the slab that was next to Brad. And I'd been looking for that, but there'd been somebody buried next to her as well. And so that's why I couldn't find her one, because I thought, well, if I see hers, I know that Brad's just right there. And but I couldn't find hers either. And I was panicking. I was like, I can't believe I've lost Brad. How can I lose Brad? And it really upset me, the fact that I couldn't find his grave. And it took me probably about 10 minutes before I found it. I was panicking. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go to the office and tell them I can't remember where my husband's buried. I mean, how bad is that? And but no, it was just that other people have been buried in there and around him. And so the place had changed. And it wasn't until I went over one row of graves and started walking up that row that I found him. And it's all because people have been buried in the other rows and next to him and, around him. And that's the only reason that I couldn't find him, because the scenery had changed. But once that's the only time I've panicked in a cemetery, by the way. It's the only time I've panicked was because I couldn't find my husband's grave. Any other cemetery I've gone into, I have never had a need to panic. I've always felt safe. I've always felt very calm, very peaceful in there. But yeah, I just enjoy reading the different tombstones and stuff. Although those that put it in a different language, that tell this amazing story, I have absolutely no idea what you're saying. I just know that it must have been an amazing person for you to have gone and written this big story on this full grave size piece of granite. about this person. So this person was very well loved, very well treasured within the family. And they've told an amazing story in their native language that I have no idea how to read. So that's all I can gain from that. So when I come across tombstones that have stories like, have these long passages on there, all I know is that person was very loved, and very much the center of a family. So you can gain that from that. But I know that everybody that's there's got, somebody who loves them and misses them and that sort of thing. But when you see these big things, there was a lot of love in that family. But anyway, so I hope you all had a beautiful Serenity Sunday. I had a great Sunday, even though I was doing a lot of physical work today. Yeah, it was tired and it was hot and sweaty, but it felt good. No, I'm not going near a gym. That's just, I felt like I got a good workout today without going to a gym. I don't know. I used to go to a gym years ago and I absolutely loved it in that, but now I'm just sort of like, yeah. But then I went to a small private gym, the one that I went to, and there was no like parading and competitions amongst people and trying, comparing yourself with other people. It was just, you're there to work out, you do your workout, you leave, the shower's there, the locker's there, and you leave. And it felt good and it felt safe. Whereas you go into when I go into these big ones, I kind of panic a little bit because now there's all these people parading around in the latest sportswear and stuff, and I'm there in t-shirt and shorts. That's all I'm working out. T-shirt and shorts and sneakers, that's me. But you get these people parading around in all this lycra and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, no. And you see them like checking other people out, and then they're like looking at themselves in the mirror, and I'm sort of like, I'm not a mirror person. It was interesting when I worked out with a personal trainer because they would sit me on benches in front of mirrors or exercise equipment in front of mirrors so that I could watch myself do the exercise. I would look anywhere except in the mirror. If I was looking in the mirror, I was looking at somebody else behind me, not looking at me. I just didn't feel comfortable doing that. And he kept saying, okay, now you got to watch how you do this. And I'm going, no, I'll just feel it. And he goes, well, how do you know if you're doing it right? I said, because it'll feel right. We had some interesting conversations. But anyway, that's it. I'm out of here. Go have a super fantastic sparkling Serenity Sunday, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at, hang on, let me double check my times for tomorrow. Yep, tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hey, konera.